Today, I will be giving a presentation on aggression in sports. It is actually a behavior that is present not only in human beings, but in other species of animals as well. According to John Archer, in regards of acts of physical aggression, it is clear that having a brain is not a requirement, and such behavior can be observed in animals like sea anemones. When is it brought into sport? One of the many ways aggression could possibly be brought onto the field is when a player allows anger, which is a negative emotion, to take control of their behaviors or actions due to a frustration related to the game and harm is caused to the opponent. It is often seen as just being a part of some sports, even though it can manifest in a variety of ways. It often results in things such as inflicting physical pain on the opponent. On the playing field, there are certain behaviors that are seen as aggressive and others that are seen as assertive. The two are not the same, and people often do not properly distinct them from each other. Although some sports require the use of behavior that appears to be aggressive, they are actually just being assertive. Like I previously said, aggression and assertiveness are not the same thing. They are both very two distinct things. Assertiveness is the use of legitimate physical or verbal force to achieve one's purpose during the sport. This is where the line between the two is officially drawn. If the behavior was done with the intention of causing harm to one's opponent, then it is considered an assertive and competitive behavior that is in favor of the sport. Whereas, if one does a behavior with the opposite of intentions, such as an unprovoked physical or verbal assault towards a member of the other team, then it is considered aggression. In contact or combat sports, such as American football or martial arts, aggressive, hostile, or violent behaviors are expected and accepted by athletes and spectators. The intentions of reasonable amount of aggression being allowed in such sports are not to hurt the opposing team, but are actually for the competitive spirit in the sport. Aggression is not tolerated in non-contact sports, like basketball. There are several types of aggression in sport: direct, indirect, instrumental, and emotional. Direct aggression is intentionally hurting an opponent face to face. Indirect aggression is the opposite of direct aggression and is the intention to hurt the opponents in the form of rumors or gossip, so it happens behind their back instead of face to face. Instrumental aggression is intentionally planned, but with the goal of gaining something, not physically or verbally hurting the opponent. Emotional aggression occurs with little forethought or intent. From youth sports to Olympic Games, aggression can be observed throughout. It is not limited to beginners or the elite. More research has seemed to be done in regards of professional or college sports, but not with the little league sports. In 2007, a research study was conducted by Dwight A. Hennessy and Stephen Schwartz to better understand what the personal predictors of spectator aggression at Little League games are, being there are a lack of studies done on such a topic. Participants in the study were parents of two youth baseball teams located in New York, which included 76 females and 52 males. Parents of both teams filled out a questionnaire rating their likeliness to participate in aggressive behaviors while watching their game. Hennessy and Schwartz expected spectator aggression to be predicted by the following: trait aggression. Those high in trait aggressiveness are generally more inclined to perceive provocation from others and openly express their aggressiveness towards others. Trait hostility. Trait hostility relates to the tendency to feel unjustly treated by others or society, and one to harbor negative attitudes towards those believed to be responsible for the injustice. Trait anger. Trait anger is defined as the enduring tendency to experience steady anger with greater frequency, intensity, and duration. Commonplace this trait occurs and manifests are in places such as the workplace and the roadways. A vengeful attitude. Vengeful attitude has been linked to several destructive behaviors, including those outside of the sport realm. It is designed as a desire to assert feelings of control over a threatening rival, establish respect, and to deter a future threat. Spectator aggression is the involvement of any behavior intended to harm a player, coach, assistant, official, or spectator in relation to the observation of that sport. These actions can be physical and violent, verbal, and psychological or emotional. Spectator aggression is likely to result in the combination of the interaction of personal factors and the social setting they are in. The results from the study revealed that the likelihood of parents, spectators, partaking in aggressive behaviors is pretty low, though is a little indication of the likelihood of parents partaking in verbal or emotional aggression despite the zero tolerance policy of their respective leagues. A different study was conducted in 2008 by Jens Amelie, Nicole M. Lavoie, and Diane M. Wise Bjornstall in order to better understand the behavior of parents at youth sporting events. Amelie Lavoie and Wise Bjornstall explain how, as a dynamic, the whole Little League game is an emotional experience that is shared by millions of parents who watch their children compete in organized youth sport each year. The emotional bond that is shared between the two, the parent and the child, is likely the reason parents may behave one way at a sporting event, even if it is considered to be out of their character. There is no one reason such events occur, but some say these negative behaviors are a result of the parents who are living vicariously through their children. Other reasons to explain the uncalled for behavior of some parents include personal variables, which include ages, gender, personality, and sport experience of those parents. Social variables, which include age and gender of the child that is participating in the sport, quality of the officiating, the coach's practices employed during the event, and the behavior of other parent spectators. Ecological variables, cultural norms associated with the sport, and the physical context in which competition occurs. The aggressive behaviors that have been displayed by spectating parents in recent years is one of the reasons research needs to be done in order to provide parents with a better understanding of the consequences, whether positive or negative, of their aggressive behaviors during their child's games, and how the negative aspect of the aggressive behaviors can be prevented. Some parents, though, understand that there is a definite line between the aggressive behaviors that are acceptable and the ones that are just not. Those who lack this understanding that inappropriate behaviors such as coaching from the sidelines, foul language, and criticism are the reason aggression is present in sports of the youth age group. The conclusion of their research highlighted that the importance of not only understanding what causes aggressive behaviors in parents, but also the overall effect these negative behaviors have on their athletes. The article also states in the conclusion that kids do not like it when parents are involved in conflicts with their coaches, officials, and other parents, and long-term exposure to these behaviors may cause negative emotional health of the young athletes. Therefore, it is very critical that further research be conducted to fully understand the proper behaviors of the parents that are acceptable during their child's sporting events and how their behaviors ultimately influence their child. Research has brought to light that aggression is not a behavior that is strictly limited to just the context of sports. In 2014, Mihaila Rondika Marasiku published a research article with the purpose of creating a better understanding of the behaviors that are present in a diverse group of athletes that positively correlate with their participation in athletic aggression. A male's involvement in sports that require aggression may bring about aggressive behaviors in other parts of their life. For example, it may cause aggression in their personal relationships off the playing field. Such behaviors are not only limited to elite male athletes, though. When compared to males who are not athletes, male athletes have a more significant tendency for violence against women. A cause for these kind of tendencies can be linked to athletes who have participated in aggressive sports during the high school age, which altogether impacts the various developmental pathways generating a relationship with aggression. Aggression in elite male athletes can be the result of a variety of things. Testosterone, the male sex hormone, is actually linked to aggression and assertive behavior. Mara Sesecue states that why athletes play sport can affect how they play sport, meaning the athlete's reason for participation in the sport can be associated with their behavior while playing that said sport. Other influences of aggression in elite athletes, such as the quality of the coach and athlete relationship, have an impact on the individual. Aggression in sports has become something both the athletes and spectators have accepted to be normal. Albert Bandura's social cognitive theory can be best used to explain as to why aggressive behaviors in sports have become more prevalent in sports. This is where learning based on observation of a certain behavior comes into play. When aggressive and violent behaviors that take place during a sporting match have positive consequences, such as praise or appreciation, the likeliness of these behaviors being repeated by the athlete are greater. By the athlete not receiving a punishment for their repetitive inappropriate acts, themselves and other athletes see the aggressive behaviors that were observed as acceptable and part of the sport. The athlete's confidence in accurately imitating this negative behavior is also something that influences one's choice to do so or to not do so. This type of monkey see, monkey do behavior is what has contributed to the conforming and desensitizing of aggression in sports. Bandura stressed the importance of aggressive behaviors and actions beyond learned behavior, but also placed emphasis on the role of physiologic, genetic, and motivational behavior factors. Aggression in Athletics, a comparative study. This study was conducted by Akesh Tamier and Rahul Sai in 2012. There is more than one side, though, to aggression in sports. One side has argued that sports had originally developed as a way of channeling aggression and aggressive behaviors in such a manner that was culturally acceptable and did not necessarily cause the individual to have an increase in their aggression. While one of the other sides has argued aggression is in sports has caused participants to replace the importance of fair sportsmanship and abiding by the rules of the game to winning. Reducing child aggression through sports intervention, the role of self-control skills and emotions. Aggression and sports sometimes seem to go hand in hand with another. This study was conducted by Sheshar et al. In 2016. This study reviewed how sport intervention in children could possibly reduce their aggressive behaviors. Aggression within the population of children and adolescents has significantly increased over the recent years. Studies showed that nearly 40% of children in primary and secondary schools encounter incidences of taunting, harassment, or bullying at their schools. Sport intervention focuses on the relations between the obtaining of self-control skills to prevent aggressive behavior through the mediation of thoughts and emotions. In the results of this study, after one of the children participating in after-school activities for 1 year, 5 times a week, showed larger increases in CSSs and larger reductions in physical aggression, hostile thoughts, anger, and negative emotions. Other researchers have also found that children participating in creative art programs has resulted in reducing their aggression. The results place emphasis on the importance of developing after-school sport programs in areas where children are considered at risk for aggressive behaviors in order to overcome difficulties related to thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. But one must keep in mind that when creating programs such as these, it is best to have a variety of sports with considerations of preferences amongst the boys and girls to be inclusive of everyone. Taking control of aggression in sport. It is possible for aggression in sport to be controlled. If all of the concerned parties work together accordingly, then this negative behavior can be minimized. Krishnaveni K. and Shinishin A. gave several examples on how to control aggression and violence by athletes. Some of the examples that were given are athletes who involve in aggressive acts must be several personalized at levels much more than any reinforcement that the game offers. Young athletes be taught to have non-aggressive but assertive behavior. Tolerance and patience on the part of the coach or leader will reduce violent behavior in the athletes. And aggressive athletes can be provided proper counseling and rehabilitation. To conclude my presentation on aggression in sport, I would like to again remind you of the importance of minimizing such behavior in sports. It is becoming a more common phenomenon each year, whether it be elite or little league sports. It is an issue that should be further researched and taken more seriously.